When selecting a radio for safety wiring applications involving less than 2000 volts and 1/0 American wire gauge cable or superior, several factors must be considered to ensure reliable communication and worker safety. The radio's frequency range, power output, modulation, channel capacity, and range are all critical specifications that directly impact its suitability for these tasks. Firstly, the frequency range is an important parameter. A radio operating within the 50 to 100 MHz range is generally adequate for this type of application. This range provides a good balance between signal propagation and potential interference. Secondly, the power output of the radio should be between 1 to 5 watts. This power level is sufficient to provide clear communication over a moderate distance without posing significant safety hazards. Higher power levels may increase the risk of interference and potentially compromise safety in certain environments. Thirdly, the modulation type, either amplitude modulation or frequency modulation, is a factor to consider. Both amplitude modulation and frequency modulation are suitable for safety wiring applications. Amplitude modulation is simpler and often more cost-effective, while frequency modulation offers better noise immunity. The choice between amplitude modulation and frequency modulation depends on the specific environment and potential sources of interference. Fourthly, the channel capacity, which should ideally be between 16 and 32 channels, allows for flexibility in assigning different channels for various teams or tasks, minimizing interference and ensuring clear communication. Fifthly, the range of the radio, which is typically between 0.5 and 2 miles, depending on terrain and obstacles, is adequate for most safety wiring applications. However, it is essential to consider the specific environment and potential obstructions that may affect the radio's range. In areas with dense vegetation or numerous buildings, a radio with a higher power output or repeater capabilities may be necessary. Several radios meet the minimum requirements for safety wiring in applications involving less than 2000 volts and 1/0 American wire gauge or superior cable. Examples include the Motorola XBR 3500, Kenwood TK-3402U, ICOM ICF21G, ACF-T-60R, and Midland GX10000 VFR. These radios offer a combination of features such as adequate power output, multiple channels, and sufficient range, making them suitable for safety-critical applications. The Motorola XBR 3500 is a digital two-way radio that offers enhanced features such as improved voice quality and data capabilities. It is a durable and reliable option for demanding environments. The Kenwood TK-3402U is an analog two-way radio that provides simple and effective communication. It is a cost-effective option for basic safety wiring applications. The ICOM ICF21G is a compact and lightweight two-way radio that is easy to carry and operate. It is a suitable choice for workers who need a portable and reliable communication device. The ACF-T-60R is a dual-band handheld radio that offers both very high frequency and ultra-high frequency capabilities. It is a versatile option for various communication needs. The Midland GX10000 VFR is a consumer-grade two-way radio that is relatively inexpensive and easy to use. It may be suitable for less demanding safety wiring applications. When using any radio for safety-critical applications, it is crucial to consult with a qualified electrician and adhere to the manufacturer's specifications. A qualified electrician can assess the specific environment and identify any potential hazards that may affect the radio's performance. The manufacturer's specifications provide important information about the radio's capabilities, limitations, and safe operating procedures. Always check the manufacturer's specifications and consult with a qualified electrician before using any radio for safety-critical applications. For optimal safety and reliability, consider using radios with higher power output and increased range. High power output can help overcome obstacles and improve communication in challenging environments. Increased range can ensure that workers can communicate effectively even when they are far apart. In addition to the radio itself, it is important to consider the accessories that may be needed for safety wiring applications. These accessories may include headsets, microphones, and carrying cases. Headsets can allow workers to communicate hands-free, which can be particularly important when they are working at height or in other hazardous environments. Microphones can improve voice clarity, especially in noisy environments. Carrying cases can protect the radio from damage and make it easier to transport. Proper training is essential for workers who will be using radios for safety wiring applications. Workers should be trained on how to operate the radio safely and effectively. They should also be trained on how to troubleshoot common problems. The training should cover topics such as radio operation, channel selection, volume control, and emergency procedures. Regular maintenance is also important to ensure that radios are functioning properly. Radios should be cleaned regularly and inspected for any signs of damage. Batteries should be replaced as needed. The maintenance should include tasks such as cleaning the radio, inspecting the antenna, and testing the battery. In addition to the specific requirements for radios used in safety wiring applications, there are also general safety guidelines that should be followed when working with electricity. These guidelines include always energizing circuits before working on them, using insulated tools, and wearing appropriate personal protective equipment. Always energize circuits before working on them to prevent electrical shock. Use insulated tools to protect yourself from electrical current. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and eye protection, to minimize the risk of injury. Furthermore, it is essential to understand the potential hazards associated with radio frequency energy. While the power output of these radios is relatively low, prolonged exposure to radio frequency energy can have adverse health effects. It is important to use the radio in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions and to avoid prolonged exposure to the antenna. Understanding the regulations and standards that govern the use of radios in safety wiring applications is important. These regulations and standards vary depending on the location and the specific industry. It is important to consult with a qualified electrician or safety professional to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations and standards. In summary, selecting the right radio for safety wiring applications involving less than 2000 volts and 1/0 American wire gauge cable or superior requires careful consideration of several factors. These factors include the radio's frequency range, power output, modulation, channel capacity, and range. It is also important to consider the accessories that may be needed, the training that workers will receive, and the maintenance that will be performed. By following these guidelines, it is possible to select a radio that will provide reliable communication and help ensure the safety of workers. The frequency range of 50 to 100 MHz is generally adequate for safety wiring applications. A power output of 1 to 5 watts is sufficient to provide clear communication over a moderate distance. Amplitude modulation or frequency modulation can be used, depending on the specific environment. A channel capacity of 16 to 32 channels allows for flexibility in assigning different channels for various teams or tasks. A range of 0.5 to 2 miles is adequate for more safety wiring applications. Radios such as the Motorola XBR 3500, Kenwood TK-3000, 402U, ICOM IC F21G, ESA FT-60R, and Midland GX 10000 FIFA meet the minimum requirements for safety wiring. Always consult with a qualified electrician and adhere to the manufacturer's specifications. Consider using radios with higher power output and increased range for optimal safety and reliability. Proper training and regular maintenance are essential for safe and effective radio operation. Follow all applicable safety guidelines when working with electricity and radio frequency energy. By carefully considering these factors and following these guidelines, you can select a radio that will provide reliable communication and help ensure the safety of workers in safety wiring applications. Remember to prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations and standards. Before commencing any safety-critical operation, verify that the chosen radio communication meets the operational needs and safety standards of the worksite.